Today my guest again is Cecs Murphey.
Keep your weapon at your side.
It doesn't catch God by surprise. And if God is in control, then something good is coming out of this.
Must be strong. Pierce the darkness with the light as you go along. Living with one foot in heaven, breaking the enemy's power. In the strength of Jesus, we can stand in the darkest hour. Living with one foot in heaven, ready when He calls our name. For believers to live is Christ, to die is only gain.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today my guest again is Cecs Murphey. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Jeanne, for having me back again.
Well, you have a new book out called Making Sense When Life Doesn't, The Secrets of Thriving in Tough Times. And boy, is this a needed resource. Can you tell me what was it that motivated you to write this particular book?
Well, because I saw so many people, let's call it in transition, people didn't know what was going on, the economy had tanked, everything seemed to be going wrong, housing, people were losing their homes, you name it, they were doing it.
Yeah.
And, this is one time I wasn't terribly affected by it, but a lot of my friends and loved ones were, including one of my married children. So I began to think about it, and I realized that they didn't know how to deal with these things. And I think one of the advantages of being an older person is that we've been there. And so we don't know exactly what they've gone through, but we know enough that we can offer them some help, some wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A few years ago, you lost your son-in-law and everything you owned in a fire. And at that time, you told a friend you were preparing for this.
Now, here's the story.
Okay.
House, about 9 o'clock in the morning, house caught on fire. My daughter got out, my wife got out, and I went back to get my son-in-law, and I couldn't get him. He was gone. So, and I knew if I stayed in to find him, I would be gone too. So I did go back out. And when I was and somebody called my best friend for me. And when I was standing there watching the trucks put out the fire, just spontaneously I said to him, "I've been preparing for this," and he knew what I meant because we were very, very close. And what I meant was, I didn't know fire was going to come. What I meant was, I have gone through enough things and survived them that I was ready for whatever happened. For instance, I lived in Africa for 6 years, and on 2 occasions, Africans tried to kill me.
Wow.
Oh yeah, one time they beat me up and poured kerosene all over me. They were going to set me on fire. You know what saved me?
What?
I couldn't find a match. I'm serious,
Praise
it's a true
God.
story. And another way, a group of robbers came in and tried to kill us and rob us, and Africans didn't go out at night in those days, and we yelled and cried out, and they did. They saved our lives. So,
Wow.
so yeah, my point is that I've gone through enough difficulties, as probably you have too, Jeanne, that when these really terrible times happen, somehow you make it through. And I love my son-in-law, and that wasn't easy, but
I'm sure.
the other thing that happened then was I thought of the story of Job, and his wife said to him, "Curse God and die." And he turned to her and he said, "We have received good from the hand of the Lord, shall we not also receive evil?" Or you can call it bad if you want. And that's the way I really live. I'm so grateful to God for all the good things, and that's where most people are. But when the bad things happen, they blame that on the devil.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say I don't believe in the devil. That's not the point. The point is that the good and the bad happens to all of us.
Right.
So when my best friend came and I said to him, "I've been preparing for this," I really was.
Mm-hmm. Just with your life.
Yes, my life experiences. Yes.
Yeah, wow. Is it really okay for people to get angry or feel sorry for themselves? Is there like a little bit of time when you can allow for those kind of negative feelings?
Well, if it isn't all right, we've got a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think so.
Again, go back to the book of Job. If you read Job, he's crying out, cursing the day he was born and all of that. I mean, he's just feeling sorry for himself. And see, I think that's natural. I think, in fact, I say to people, if you can't feel this and feel some agony, anger, whatever the emotion is, something's wrong. You're not really being honest with yourself. After the fire, sure, I went through some of that. And you know, it's okay to feel sorry for yourself for a time. And we're all different. Now, I do everything very quickly, so I pulled out of it very quickly. My daughter, who lost her husband, it took her a much longer time. It was probably 3 or 4 months before she really began to pull out of it. It was really probably almost 3 years before she fully had been able to leave it behind. And so I think it's a natural kind of response. God can handle anger. Read the Psalms.
Yeah.
Or the despair. One time I was going through a very, very difficult time, and the verse that helped me the most was Psalm 13:1. How long, O Lord, will you hide your face from me? Forever? And sometimes it feels like forever.
Yeah. Sometimes every minute feels like forever.
That's right. So, sure, I think the problem is that some people get in the pit and they want to stay in the pit, or they can't seem to find a way out. I think there comes a time when you need to say, okay, I've been here long enough, now I need to climb out.
Right. And you were mentioning the devil, but, you know, God is sovereign, and nothing can come to us even from the devil without his approval.
Well, see, I believe that.
Yeah.
But some people get so uptight, so I don't even argue it. Remember, in the story of Job, God gave him permission.
That's right. He had to ask. And God uses what happens to us to help us grow, doesn't he?
Yeah, you know, a friend of mine after the fire said to me, you know what, this didn't catch God by surprise, did it? And said it wasn't as if all the angels of God were there, and Michael came and said, by the way, God, Cecs Murphey's house just caught on fire. Said, you know, that was very comforting to me, because it doesn't catch God by surprise. And if God is in control, then something good is coming out of this.
And have you been able to see good?
Oh, many times. You know, we lost everything. Aside from this personal loss of my son-in-law, which, you know, that. But even the loss of a loved person is something we have to learn to live with, because that's what life is. It's a series of losses. But we lost everything we'd owned all through our years of marriage. I mean, everything. I had to go down to the bank and re-identify myself. Fortunately, the manager knew me, so I got that one. Then I had to go and prove myself for a driver's license. I mean, it was like starting all over again. But you know what was really interesting is I remember saying to my friend again, David, before and after, I said, you know what? I get to start all over again. And I realized that I would not have started all over again if it had been my choice. Because we always want to hang on. And see, that's what this Making Sense When Life Doesn't is about, is that people want to hold on to the past, even if it's miserable. They'd rather hold on to the safe, bad places than to let go and move into the unsafe, good places.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, you open this book with the concept that life is like cleaning house.
Yeah.
So explain what you mean by that.
My wife does house cleaning at our place. I'm not very good at that. But I watched her so many times working hard to clean the house. And it's just spotless. And it stays that way for maybe 20 minutes or an hour, or maybe sometimes a whole day, but never more than that, because we're human beings and we're living. And so we're always messing up. You know, just, I'll lay this book down here now. And then I'll come back and then I'll lay something else down. Now I'll pick up something and, you know, isn't long before it's in disarray. Well, that's the way life is.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said, see, life is messy. And I think this is really important for Christians to acknowledge it. See, we want to affirm people, and I think that's right, and encourage them, and again, I think that's right. And so the trouble is, or the tendency is, that we give them all this wonderful peace and joy and all of that, but what we forget to tell them, or don't tell them, is that you don't arrive at victory without a battle. You don't arrive at joy until you can also understand sorrow. See, I don't think we really understand what life is, the good life, until we've understood some of the bad life.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. If you've never experienced anything like, C.S. Lewis talks about people not wanting to go to the seaside because they're enjoying mud pies or something. I can't
Yeah.
remember the exact quote. And if they had only experienced the seaside, they wouldn't appreciate it as much, would they?
There you go.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and there's also this sense of what I call a vacuum. We need the vacuums in our empty spaces. By that I mean, when we're into something and it ends, too many people want to jump from the end to the beginning of the next, and you know what? We're not ready for it.
That's true.
It's like, I was a pastor for a number of years, and one of the things I saw, and this is particularly with men, they go through a divorce, the spouse dies. Anyway, now they're suddenly single. Within months, most of them have remarried, and sometimes regrettably remarried.
Yes.
Marion Hayes, repent and leisure, because they can't stand that empty space. It's not just marriage and men, but I mean, it's all kinds of things. And see, I think when we have these really bad things that come, or good things that come to an end, we need this space to just kind of accept it and face where we are and prepare us to go ahead. See, you can't grab the next step until you let go of what's behind you.
Yeah, that's really wise advice. You address topics like jealousy and anger, and do you deal with forgiveness in here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggies, isn't it?
In fact, I have more in this book on forgiveness than I do anything else, because I think this is the biggest problem that most people face. And some people forgive more easily than others, And I will tell you that I've learned over the years that when I get really angry or hurt by somebody, I'm learning now to forgive much quicker. And part of that is growth. But let me tell you what finally helped me was the realization that God knows everything about me and knows all my failures and weaknesses. And you know what? God still loves me. I mean, I know that's pretty obvious and simple, but it was like one day it finally hit me. God knows all the awful things, and particularly awful motives and terrible thoughts, and hasn't rejected me. And I began to understand grace, God's forgiveness and grace. And then I went on to the next step, and this is what really helped me. If I understand God's grace in my life, then that means I am ready to pass it on to somebody else. And I don't wait till they ask for forgiveness. Right. I don't wait till they say, gosh, I messed up. If I really forgive them, I will go to them whether they're ready or not. The other thing I learned is this. When I don't like somebody or I feel hurt by them or haven't forgiven them, every time their name comes up, I cringe inside. Don't you?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, you do. Sure you do.
Yeah.
And you think all those negative thoughts about them and all those bad feelings. And the other thing is, I think when we still hold this, we replay the scenario in our head of how it happened. I think all the useless, wasted energy of going back, and particularly with me, I used to think about all the things I should have said or could have said or I wanted to say.
I think everybody does that.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, but when I understood grace, I also understood something else. I want to be forgiven.
Yes.
And see, I think when I do something wrong, my motives may be right, even though I did something stupid. So I'm now willing to say to people, even if they're wrong, I think they probably did this for good motives. They had some way to rationalize, because I would say that about me too, rationalize that they were doing the right thing.
So give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, let me give you an example.
Okay.
When I was in Africa, there was a woman who was really, let's just call it difficult. And one of her favorite beginning statements was, well, I want to tell you this for your own good.
Oh, wow.
Not to alert you. And I was just getting sent. And I finally realized that, she was so fragile herself that the only way she could protect herself was to throw it out on somebody else. And the more I looked at her and thought of her and understood her pain,
yes,
the more easily I was able to forgive her. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, do you have any, do you have a list of tips or something in here?
Well, let me tell you, in this book, every chapter ends with something. There are many things I can't do, but more important is what I can do.
And we have to tell the viewers that the reason I'm not familiar with the book is it just came out today.
Yeah, and they didn't
So,
get one too.
yeah.
When I no longer need to be right, I'm able to forgive. And see, I
Okay.
think that's another thing with a lot of people. Here's another one. I don't forgive to absolve others. I forgive to set myself free.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, because when we don't forgive, we put ourselves in prison, don't we?
yeah.
Absolutely. I wish we could talk forever, but we do have a limit. But I hope you will come and do another interview when your next book comes out. And
Well, that's this week.
oh my goodness, that's right. You're the most prolific author I think I know, and you have an African name because you work so fast.
Yeah, my name is Haraka, which means quick, fast. Actually, I have two. In fact, they call me Omori Haraka. Omori is a happy person, and the other one's Haraka because I do everything quickly.
Yes, you do. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. God bless.
You too.
For believers to live